Well, Australian South Sea Islanders are today marking the 30th anniversary since the federal government recognised them as a distinct cultural group. The event coincides with the King's visit to Samoa, where he's attending the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. On the agenda there has been climate change and oceans protections. But a lengthy discussion around the legacy of colonialism is yet to be explored. The British Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is reportedly resisting the issue despite calls in the UK for the government to apologise for its role. The Secretary-General of the Commonwealth, Patricia Scotland, says while the issue is not on the formal agenda, no topic is off limits.
Our leaders, when they come together, have always been able to talk about any issue which is of importance to them. And it's because they trust each other, talk to each other, that it's really important that we let them do that. So I would reassure people that any member, we have 56 members of our family, and any member can raise any issue they wish to discuss. That's why they're leaders.
Well, second-generation Australian South Sea Islander Imelda Davis says King Charles's attendance at the Commonwealth meeting has sparked mixed emotions. She says she hopes the King and other leaders will support reparations.
I think there's a lot of resolve that needs to happen for our First Nations, Australian South Sea Islander communities and Pacific communities, because he's currently in Samoa. But you know, it is a mixed bag of emotions.
We know that at Samoa, at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, there have been numerous topics discussed, particularly around climate change and marine borders. But what discussions would you like to see around the legacy of colonialism and slavery?
Look, I think in order to resolve the challenges for our marginalised communities in particular and across the Pacific, we need to start looking at what does sustainability look like for grassroots organisations and for governments to start working more effectively from the grassroots up, because it is the people that bring about change or real change. It's not a top-down approach. And as we know with climate change and the challenges with that, it's very much about, nature-based solutions. And what is that? That's Indigenous knowledges. So I think, we're working towards better communities and making sure that we collaborate and are proactive in the space in making sure that our voices are heard.
The BBC is reporting that the Commonwealth heads are preparing to defy the UK and examine reparatory justice for the transatlantic slave trade. The Secretary-General of the Commonwealth, Baroness Scotland, has told the ABC that it's really up to the Commonwealth leaders to decide whether they want to raise the issue or not. What does a meaningful conversation around this look like?
Well, the meaningful conversation is what we're having here today. We have Vonda Malone, the former Mayor of the Torres Strait, here as a part of the Truth Telling and Healing Commission. We have people such as myself who head up, Australian South Sea Islanders Port Jackson, representing our communities, and also as a former councillor for the City of Sydney. We have the Lord Mayor coming, and these conversations need to be had in terms of how do we empower but work better together grassroots communities. And reparations looks like exactly what every other human being in this country is receiving, and that's equal opportunity, access and equity. And, funding is a key part of that, so sustainability.
It may surprise many, Imelda, that Australia has a history of slave trade, or blackbirding as it's known. Can you briefly explain that and what your connection to it is?
Absolutely. I'm a second-generation Australian South Sea Islander. This year is our 30th anniversary, and the event here at the Botanical Gardens will celebrate that. I am a descendant of my grandfather, my mother's father, who was stolen from Vanuatu to cut sugarcane in Australia, and there were 60,000 of us brought to this country, but no one in Australia really knows this deep history, and we're struggling for better conditions for our marginalised communities. So, it's a dark history, but also we're celebrating survival and resilience and unity.
There has been an apology from the Bundaberg Mayor and recognition from federal, Queensland and New South Wales governments about the South Sea Islander contribution to economy and agriculture. What does reconciliation look like for you around this?
Well, it's less rhetoric and more, financial injection into these communities, and working with established organisations that have a proven track record. You know, we've got the Palm scheme coming up, and that trade is looking to be challenging, but at the same time, we've got relationships and families that we can find through that, I guess, opportunity. So it's about working better together and making sure that the people in the right positions are supported and bringing the community with them.
You recently presented to the UN in Geneva on this issue. What did you talk to them about? What were you hoping to achieve through that?
Well, it's been quite successful going to Geneva to speak at the United Nations, because I spoke of the blackbirding history. I spoke of the intersectionality that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities have, also with African communities, because blackbirding was an extension of the Atlantic slave trade here in Australia. It started in 1847 with New South Wales, Benjamin Boyd. So highlighting that particular history and that global relationship through especially the African Atlantic slave trade has set a focus for working groups of people of African descent to actually unify us. And it's been quite successful. So I'm going to be continuing that work on a global platform as well.
How important, just finally, Imelda, is an apology? We know that some leaders are calling on Britain to apologise for its role in the slave trade in order to begin the reparations process.
I think it's important because people feel seen and recognised, as was the Bundaberg apology that we worked with you know, in 2020 or 2021, and it gives people a sense of belonging and letting the broader community know that they're seen by this. You know, we can't change the past, but we can, you know, make sure that we move forward and make the future better for everybody.
Imelda Davis joining us there, celebrating the Australian South Sea Islanders marking 30th anniversary since the Australian government recognised your group as a distinct cultural group. Many thanks for your time and your insight.
Thank you, Jamas.